Friday the 13th. Every year on this date, people cancel flights, refuse to sign contracts. Hospitals see fewer patients because people are too scared to go outside. And no one can tell you exactly why. But what if it's not just bad luck? What if it's a memory of a man who was burned alive and a curse that actually worked? One man bought a fortress without spilling a drop of blood. Another was burned alive for crimes the Pope knew he didn't commit. And between them, a king who sealed their fate with a letter no one was allowed to open. Every year, businesses lose close to $1 billion because people refuse to do anything on this date. They won't fly, won't start a business, won't get married because of a date. But here's the strange part. If you lived in 1700 or 1500 or 1200, Friday the 13th meant nothing to you. The fear was invented in 1834. So whatever happened on Friday, October 13th, 1307, was completely forgotten for 500 years before someone turned it into a curse. To understand what happened, you need to know about the Templars, because this isn't a story about bad luck. It's a story about money. Jerusalem, the age of the Crusades. 9 knights make a promise to protect travelers in the Holy Land. They call themselves soldiers of Christ. They own nothing. Within 50 years, they own everything. 900 properties across Europe, 15,000 members. They invented the modern bank, deposit gold in London, pick it up in Jerusalem with a piece of paper. They lent money to kings. They answered to no government, only the Pope. Now, remember one name, Philip IV, King of France. He was broke. He'd already kicked the Jews out of France and stolen everything they had. He taxed the church so hard the Pope threatened to throw him out of Christianity, and he owed the Templars a fortune. There is one rule in history that never breaks. When a man who owes you money is also the king, the debt doesn't get paid. You get destroyed. But Philip needed more than soldiers. He needed a playbook for how to destroy a secret order from the inside. And someone had already written one. 200 years earlier, on the other side of the world, a man named Hassan-i walks into a mountain fortress called Alamut, the Eagle's Nest, high in what is now Iran. He doesn't fight his way in. He'd spent years quietly turning the soldiers inside, one by one. By the time the owner of the castle figured it out, his own guards were working for Hassan. Hassan let him leave, then handed him a bill for 3,000 gold coins. He didn't conquer the fortress, he bought it. For the next 35 years, Hassan never left, not once. He read, he wrote, he executed his own son for drinking wine, and a second son for killing someone without permission. He trusted no family, he trusted the mission, and his methods would become the blueprint for what Philip did to the Templars. His followers were called the self-sacrificing. They would spend months, sometimes years, getting close to a target, learning the language, earning trust. Then, one dagger, one kill, in public. They never expected to survive. They weren't supposed to. They killed the most powerful man in the empire, disguised as a holy man. They killed the king of Jerusalem, inside a church, dressed as monks. The world called them Hashashin. Sound familiar? That's where we get the word assassin. Every language on earth uses it. Now you're probably thinking, what does an assassin in Iran have to do with Friday the 13th? Everything. And here's where the two orders meet. The Templars and the Assassins operated in the same region. The Assassins paid the Templars just to be left alone. Two secret orders, both answering to no king, both feared by everyone. And when Philip needed a playbook for destroying an order from the inside, the Assassins had already written it. One was destroyed by Mongols, the other on a Friday.
What Philip did next
would stay hidden for 700 years, until a researcher opened the wrong folder in the Vatican. Philip sends sealed letters to every official in France. One instruction: do not open until the night of October 12th. That night, across France, they break the seals, the instructions inside. At dawn, on Friday, October the 13th, arrest every Templar in France at the same time. Take their property, take their gold. The charge: crimes against God. By sunrise, over 500 Templars were in chains. Most were asleep when the soldiers came. Among them, the Grand Master, Jacques de Molay. He had joined the Templars at 21 in a small chapel in Burgundy 42 years ago. He had served in the Holy Land, watched the last Crusader fortress fall. He had spent his whole life trying to protect an order that was now being dragged out of bed in chains. He was 63 years old. He didn't fight back. Then the torture began. They tied men's arms behind their backs and pulled them up by the wrists until the shoulders came out of their sockets. They held fire under de Molay's feet. In Paris alone, 36 Templars died in those rooms. And under torture, they confessed. To spitting on the cross, to rejecting God, to worshiping a demon called Baphomet. Were the confessions real? For 700 years, nobody knew. Then, in 2001, a researcher found a document buried in the Vatican archives. It had been filed in the wrong place, under the wrong number, lost for almost 7 centuries. The Chinon parchment. It proved that the Pope, Clement V, had secretly absolved de Molay. The Pope knew what they did to him. He signed the paperwork and did nothing. 7 years later, Jacques de Molay is dragged to a wooden stake on an island in the river, in front of Notre Dame. 7 years in prison. The young man who walked into that chapel in Burgundy is now 70 years old. His feet never healed. They expect him to confirm that he's guilty. All he had to do was agree they would let him live. Instead, he stands. He takes it all back. He declares the Templars innocent. He says the only crime he ever committed was lying under torture about crimes that never happened. They light the fire. The crowd goes quiet. What he said next depends on who you ask. The eyewitness, a priest named Geoffroy de Paris, wrote this: God knows who has sinned. Misfortune will come to those who condemned us. God will avenge our death. No curse, no deadline, just a dying man asking God for justice. But a later writer, an Italian named Villani, added something the eyewitness never wrote. Pope Clement, King Philip, I will see you before God within the year. The Pope died 33 days later. The king died 8 months later, a stroke while hunting. Coincidence? The lawyer who planned it all, Guillaume de Nogaret, the man who organized the arrests, who designed the torture, he was already dead. He died a full year before de Molay burned. The curse couldn't reach him because he was already gone. History didn't need a curse to punish Nogaret. It just needed time. 2 secret orders on opposite sides of a war. One was wiped out by Mongols and their library was burned. The other was destroyed by a king and their gold was stolen. The assassins left behind a word that every language still uses. The Templars left behind a date that still makes people nervous. The superstition of Friday the 13th didn't show up until 1834, 500 years later. The arrest happened on a Friday. The number 13 was already unlucky. 500 years of folklore did the rest, and in the 1980s, someone finally connected the dots. It's not history, it's a story we layered onto history. So, was Friday the 13th born on that morning in 1307? No, almost certainly not. But a man was burned alive for crimes he didn't commit. A pope signed a document saying he was innocent, then watched him burn. A pope and a king did die within the year, and the eyewitness never said a word about a curse. Somebody added that later. Next time, one man set his beard on fire to scare his enemies. The other commanded 1,800 ships and retired. The Pirate King versus the Pirate Queen, and only one of them won.